Clothing, why? 4 is bigger than 3. That is true. 4 is bigger than 3. How can we be assured that that's the right answer? So what would that suggest then? More labor or less capital, or what? What direction would you head, I guess? Because that's ultimately suggests a reallocation of labor and capital. So do you want to take labor away from them or capital? Oh shoot, I forgot my markers. I hate that. Take which one? Just taking a guess? All right, what might we want to do with this one to help with the trade-offs? Draw it. I think if you draw it, it'll start to become a little more helpful. And you can draw a full Edgeworth box if you want. Boy, I'm going to have to go get some markers. I think I will. Why don't you guys draw? I will be gone for 2 minutes. Figure out the answer. And then start on the back problem. I think I'll be 2 minutes. I will run a little bit. But draw a picture, think about the trade-offs, and then go to 14.5. How'd I do? We could use the video to see how long it took me. I think I was under a minute. You guys are even still thinking. Okay. So what'd you come up with? When you think about these problems, draw. One way to do it is to draw the picture and say to yourself, what inefficient side of the football am I on, right? Because the football kind of represents an inefficiency. So we know that that's the case, that there's a football region. And then kind of think to yourself, am I there or am I there? And we know the slopes are, we've got the marginal rate of technical substitution in the clothing industry between labor and capital equal to 4. And the marginal rate of technical substitution in the food industry is equal to 3. Are we at point A or are we at point B? If we just know that information. We're at A, right? So this is clothing here. The slope here is 4. The other slope is 3, or something less. So then you can just kind of go back to the steeper slope, which is the clothing isoquant. Now that we know that, we get our condition of the direction we want to head. We want to head into the football region somehow, which means we're going to have more labor and less capital for clothing. which of course then means just the opposite for the food industry. They're going to have more and less of the other. So we want to move this direction for efficiency. That implies we should increase labor and decrease capital for clothing. We're going to, by doing so, by reallocating, we're going to be doing just the opposite for the food industry, less labor and more capital, and that's going to drive those slopes together as we get into the football region, until we get to that some sort of unique solution in the middle. And again, there's multiple unique solutions along the contract curve. So the contract curve shows all unique solutions.
Some for just on the point, how does what's the fraction of the
It is the
labor over capital?
correct, yep.
Isn't it like 4/1?
Marginal product of labor over the marginal product of capital, and this is both in the clothing industry, of course. And then the same is true over here for the food industry.
So then I'm just 4/1 and 3/1?
Yep. You can use them over, because we can put any number over 1, correct. So we can do 4/1. Probably the deeper insight to see how they're converging with each other is that as I add more labor, what's happening to the marginal productivity of labor for the clothing industry? As you add more and more labor, what happens to the marginal productivity of labor? It diminishes, right? Diminishing marginal product. So more labor means this guy's going up. Less capital. I'm sorry, I went the wrong direction with that, didn't I? I needed the arrow going the other direction. So the law of diminishing marginal product again. More labor means diminishing marginal product as we add more and more. Now, a little counterintuitive is less capital puts this in the other direction, making the overall expression shrink or grow? Shrink, right? So this is shrinking, getting smaller. So that's shrinking. If we go downstairs to what we're doing in the opposite, marginal product of labor in the food area now is going up. Marginal product of capital is diminishing because we're adding more capital, causing the overall expression to get bigger. And so that's the convergence that's going on. That this slope's going to get bigger, this slope's going to get smaller through the reallocation. Okay, why don't you flip it over? 14.5. Are you guys still writing all that? You know, on the definitely get this down, because like on a multiple choice problem, there might be something where suppose labor is going up, what's happening to the marginal rate of technical substitution. So these directions help do that. What's that?
Is that Monday?
The learning curve is. Just the learning curves.
When's the
Multiple choice on that?
We'll have, I think what I'm planning to do is just to have, well, okay, I could do it different. Here's what my plan was, and I guess I'm open for suggestion again. But the final day is Wednesday. We're going to hold, as we talked about yesterday, the final in class for the normal portion, but it'll be about the same length as before, so that'll give you a little breather before entrepreneurial. But I was going to open the test from morning to night for the multiple choice, just like we've done before. Okay? Wednesday morning to Wednesday night. The alternative is if you wanted a little breather because of entrepreneurial and to get your wits together. I don't mind shifting that to Thursday, which in this case doesn't interfere with travel plans because you could take it at home if you wanted. But yeah, if I shift the multiple choice portion to Thursday.
Because I
You've got 3.
Yeah.
You should get one moved. I'll talk to you later about that possibility. Because I just don't believe any student should have 3 on one day. So, were you in? You weren't in an entrepreneur? Yeah, you were. I mentioned it yesterday. Okay, but you can do whatever you want. If you need to get out of town, your choice. But if you want out of that, so back to the story. Thursday or Wednesday? Thursday, one or the other. I don't want to extend it over both, because my whole point is to keep it into one day.
Well, it sounds like she definitely needs it to be Thursday.
That would probably be helpful here, although I think you should rearrange something. Let's make it Thursday then, unless there's anybody opposed to it? Having a little more time rather than less time? More is preferred to less. That falls into some axiom of choice somewhere. Okay, so so we'll do Thursday for the multiple choice portion. And yeah, speak up if you got. Okay.
I mean, if it's against anyone else, we can do it Wednesday. We can always do it after.
You can do it at midnight. Yeah, you can do it late. Well, you won't want to wait till
Right.
midnight. It might be a little late for. So, all right, Thursday. Okay, Thursday it is. In Ecoland, producers make both televisions and clocks. At the current production levels, the marginal cost of producing a clock is $50, and the marginal cost of producing a television is $150. A, how many clocks must Ecoland give up if it wishes to produce another television? 3. Okay. Good quick answer. How'd you get it? 150, which is dollars per clock, and 50. What's that? 150 is television. Okay. Is the marginal cost of in terms of dollars per clock. So this is the notation I like to use. So we're really taking the marginal cost of a TV over the marginal cost of a clock, and we're getting 3 clocks for every television. Okay, so that's the opportunity cost of what? A clock or a television? Would you say that 3? Is that the opportunity cost of a clock or a television? Of a television, right. So the price is 3 clocks, what you give up. Good. All right, so that represents a tie-in to the production possibilities frontier. What is the marginal rate of transformation from clocks to televisions in Ecoland? The marginal rate of transformation. So 3 clocks for every television. The marginal rate of transformation is that. So if we got a bowed out production possibilities frontier, what's the trade-off? We're giving 3 clocks up, the rise over run, 3 clocks for every 1 television. That's just the marginal rate of transformation. So this is just kind of a quick little example of what we did last time. Part C, any questions there? So that's A and B just kind of imply each other. Because consumers are only willing to trade 2 clocks for a television, the marginal rate of substitution is 2, in other words. What can Ecoland do? So at the current production levels, consumers are willing to give up 2 clocks to obtain a television. So we've got one of those deals where right now we are at another inefficient position. And so kind of like before, we can think, are we at point A or are we at point B? Because there's our indifference curve. Are we at A or B in this case? is our looks here. I think Adam's going to have to get an extra credit point. I don't know if he's right or not, but he keeps firing away. Got the guns a firing this morning. I like to see that. Anybody else? YA. What do we know from the problem? We've got the marginal rate of substitution equal to 2.
Just feel like you haven't made a deal yet, you guys can roll the blocks. That makes sense.
Okay.
Would it be though, because of your marginal rate of transformation for that 3 and 1, that they're only 2 for 1.
Okay. So talk to me in terms of slopes at point A and point B.
B is steeper.
Well, B itself can't be steeper than anything, but what's steeper at B? The slope of what? It's tangent line to what? So which one? There's 2 points here, so we got to think about what we're tangent to. B's a point.
But can you be tangent at both points?
Yes.
To the
So,
production possibility.
to the production possibilities frontier. That's all I was looking for, because we got, if we pull out the magic of the golf club, at point B, that's tangent to the indifference curve. This is tangent to the production possibilities frontier. Now, which one's which? Which one's got a slope of 2 and which one's got a slope of 3? Who's got the 3 dashed tangent lines? Which one? The steeper one or the flatter one? The steeper one. All right. This is really falling back, folks. There's no calculus here. This is good old rise over run. So remember rise over run. I mean, you'd be surprised. This has helped me in PhD level stuff on trying to figure out a few things with the graph. So go back to your rise over run. Steeper tangent line is the slope. So we've got that. Now, what does that mean of the direction we need to head with the economy if we're at point B? More televisions or less televisions? Less televisions, good. So point B is associated with 100 televisions and 206 clocks. And that is not a good combination of those 2 outputs for society. People would be happier if we shifted to an equally productively efficient point, C, right? Because it's on the production possibilities frontier. So we're going to another spot on the contract curve, right? An equally efficient point of production is point C, but people are happier because their preferences are such that they want to have a few more clocks to tell the time rather than watching a few more reality shows. Okay, so that was that last condition that we talked about in class last time, that the marginal rate of substitution needs to be equal to the marginal rate of transformation. Okay, any last questions on that one?
I guess I'm a little confused how I decided it was we were at point B and not point A.
So at point A, we've got this going on, right? So which one has the big slope now? You see it now? Does everybody see it now? Because that's an important point. So if you take the tangent points here, who's got the big slope now? The indifference curve or the production possibilities frontier? The indifference curve, right? So the marginal rate of substitution at point A, so maybe this is worth putting down. At point A, I guess the at symbol wasn't the best choice there. At point A, the marginal rate of substitution is greater than the marginal rate of transformation. At point B, the marginal rate of substitution was less than the marginal rate of transformation, which told you the direction to head.
Since we're talking about marginal rate of transformation, is that what the difference is between input efficiency and output efficiency?
Yes. Yeah. So input efficiency, just remember we had inputs on the axes, right? So input efficiencies was that the marginal rates of technical substitution had to be equal across the board, across all industries or across all firms. And the output efficiency has outputs measured over here. And then the exchange efficiency was with what we started off with Thelma and Lou. The marginal rates of substitution equal to each other across consumers. Otherwise, we can reallocate the food in the refrigerator between the two people and make society better off. So along this one, technically, those marginal rates of substitution are all equal among the members. That's where it gets a little foggy on theory. I mean, it's a little bit of a stretch. Why people like the Austrian school stepped up and said, wait a second, maybe there's something else going on here. Okay, chapter 15. Pull out your sheets. I think I passed them out to you last time. This is a neat chapter. Didn't I pass them out? And I didn't? Okay. Well, let's get that taken care of. Oh yeah, no. Let's see. Are you sure? Oh yeah, there they are. They're kind of thin. There's not that much there compared to my relative other junk that I carry in there. All right. So we're talking about imperfect information, asymmetric information, and how we deal with uncertainty in problem solving. And so we talked a little bit about this with the chapters on price discrimination, not knowing maybe who our high quality customer is or a low quality customer. But this is a little bit different. It's similar in nature. And I just want to jump into a problem. So suppose that consumers value high quality used laptop computers at a price of $400, while they value low quality laptops at $100. The supply of high quality laptops is given by that function, while the supply of low quality laptops is given by that function. Potential buyers cannot tell the difference between high quality and low quality laptops when purchasing one. Assume that buyers believe there's a 50% probability that the used laptop will be of high quality. What would be the price that buyers are willing to pay for any laptop? So this is kind of like buying stuff on eBay, which I've participated in on and off in my time, right? You don't know what you're getting until it's mailed to you, and you might be screwed, right? So there's this chance. How does that affect your willingness to pay compared to going to a face-to-face store where you might be able to check it out and see how it works and, you know, whatever, inspect it. So that's kind of the problem here. So how do we handle this probability business? What do you think here? Okay, so if we take a weighted average of the two, right? Between the two, that should be our expected value. All right, so what is, the first thing we'll calculate is the expected value of the laptop. Again, not knowing if you're going to get shipped the low quality one or the high quality one, what is your expected value? You value good ones at 400, bad ones at 100. So what's your expected value? How do you do that? Taylor, you want to give me a shot here, what you're thinking?
Isn't it, 400 times 0.5?
Okay, 50% chance of getting the $400 laptop.
Plus, or 50% chance of getting $100.
50% chance of getting the $100 laptop. Good. All right? So my expected value then is 200 plus 50. My unknown purchase has an expected value of 250 bucks. If I believe there's a 50-50 shot. Now, where does that leave me at with my willingness to pay?
Do you add it to the one?
No. So we're trying to think of what our willingness to pay. What was our willingness to pay for a high quality? If we knew it was a high quality, we'd pay 400. If we knew it was a low quality, we'd pay 100. We still get value from the low quality, bear in mind. And so if it's a crapshoot and I believe it's a 50-50 shot, but I don't know what I'm going to get, what's the most I'm willing to pay? 250. All right, so that, I want you to kind of have a little bit of faith that's especially when you're doing a problem, but that's how we're thinking about what we're willing to pay. Now, some of you might be thinking there, well, what if that's just too, I don't want to run the risk of getting a $100 laptop and getting screwed. I'm going to try to avoid that risk. That gets into kind of different issues that we'll be talking about. But what would be your appropriate thing to do then if that was the case? How would you change this weighting? Would you put more weight over here or more weight over here? More weight over here, right? So you just kind of change your weighting, which would bring this down to what you need it to be. All right, so therefore, 250 is the maximum willingness to pay. Okay, part B. If the price is determined in A is offered in the market for the used laptops, how many high-quality laptops will be made available in the market? How many low-quality laptops will be made available in the market? And are the buyers correct in their assumption that 50% of the used laptops will be available for sale are of high quality? So we were given supply curves, right? So those were supply curves of the high quality. QH was price of the high quality laptop minus 100. And we had the low quality, which was 2 times the price of the low quality minus 50. So what do we get for there for quantities? So basically, on eBay, how many, do you guys all eBay? You know what I'm talking about if I reference eBay? Because it's kind of helpful for me because I can. So on eBay, if you look at the completed listings or the sold listings to see what these things are going for, like what they actually sell for, and you look at it, they seem to be selling for about $250. Then there's other suppliers out there of high quality and low quality that are deciding, should I put it on eBay or should I just sell it at my store or whatever, right? This is their supply function. So knowing that, how many high quality ones are going to be offered to the market? 150. And how many low quality? 400. Now the next part of this question said, are the buyers correct in their assumption that 50% of the used laptops available are high quality? Is it a 50-50 shot for them? No. What's that? 450. Oh, thanks. Okay, so what is the probability of getting a high one? So the actual probability of getting a high one is equal to what? How would you calculate that mathematically? How many laptops are out there in total? 600. What's the probability of, or what's the odds that you're going to get a high quality one? 150 over 600. Good. And that is what percent? 25%. So you've really got a 25% chance, not a 50-50 chance. Okay. So part C, what would you expect to happen over time as information about the true odds of buying a high quality used laptop becomes known? Good. So as we start to learn, oh man, I'm getting screwed more times than not. If that information goes out, that it's really 25%, we start to go back to this equation. I've got a 75% chance of getting a low quality, 25% chance of getting a high quality, right? So the prices are going to fall. So for part C, price will fall. You can think of the expected value of getting a laptop is now 70 or 25% of 400 plus 75% of 100, giving me, what we got there, 100 plus 75, 175. So that's our prediction that we'd make, is that prices would probably going to fall. Now, what happens over here as prices fall? Let's kind of go through a little bit of an iterative process to even go make a further long-run prediction. What happens here? What does the new quantity of high quality end up being when sellers can only expect to get 175? 75. So if this number falls to 75, so 150 dropping to 75, and the low, 300. 2 times 170, yeah, this is getting a little tricky, isn't it? 150, 300. Is that what it is? 300? 175 times 2. 350 minus 50. Yep. What does that end up being? 75 divided by 300. Does that actually end up going up or down? Oh, I'm sorry. 75 divided by 375. 75 divided by 375. Because we got to add those together. 20%. And now that feeds back through this loop, so that over the long haul, we might see the market have what? No high quality laptops. People find other places to go. So what do how could sellers respond to that? I'm kind of going beyond this little problem. How might sellers respond to that? If you're selling if you've got a high quality laptop, is this a good venue for you? No, in general, just by this. But what could you do to offset that? Money back guarantee, right? So I have a laptop with a money back guarantee or some sort of warranty or something else for the buyer. which makes my product different than the other products that don't have any warranty, which might allow you to sell it on eBay for closer to $400. Maybe you can get $300, $350, or whatever. Get something of a higher price by bundling it with a warranty. So that's a lot about what this chapter is about, is overcoming situations of asymmetric information. The seller of that laptop has more information about it than the buyer. And in some circumstances, if you're the holder of a high quality laptop, you want to be able to tell your people that you've got a high quality laptop. But you got to make what you're saying credible, which might not prove to be easy to do in all cases.
You could use PayPal.
PayPal, yep, using different payment systems, right, that might get your money back if you get screwed or something. All right, let's go to 15.2. Anastasia and Catherine own a cafe. Because of their equipment and business, they run the risk of loss due to small kitchen fires. This risk can be mitigated by taking precautions such as purchasing fire extinguishers or by increasing the training and awareness of cafe employees. Assume that the marginal cost of these precautions can be represented by this equation, where A is equal to the actions taken to mitigate the risk of fire. Likewise, the marginal benefit of these precautions is 100 minus 2A. All right. If the cafe has no insurance, what would be the optimal level of precautions for Anastasia and Catherine to take? All right. So, what do you think? We got a marginal cost curve, marginal benefit curve. What's usually a good thing to do? Set them equal to each other, yes. Supply equals demand. Good old-fashioned principles 101. All right, let's do it. We got the marginal cost equal to 80 plus 8A. The marginal benefit equal to 100 minus 2A. Set those two equal to each other. What is the optimal number of actions to take on their own? What'd you get? 2. Go ahead and solve it out. Got 10A over here. 10A equals 20. A equals 2. Suppose that the cafe has insurance that reduces the marginal benefit of taking precautions to 90 minus 4A. What happens to the optimal level of precautions? Explain why this is the case. So now we're going to buy insurance. Why would that decrease the marginal benefit of precautions? Taking actions. Remember, there's actions within the place of safety. You guys have worked at maybe restaurants and different things. You do certain actions to be safe. Why does insurance reduce the benefit of those actions? Okay, you get the money, or if there's an event, it's covered, basically, right? Not necessarily going to your extreme diabolical place you were going, but there's less benefits because it's covered if you got insurance, right? That's all why. That's the only reason why the benefit. You pay some money, and the benefits of taking precautions through your actions fall. What'd you guys get for that then? So we're going to have that new benefit curve of 90 minus 4A, still equal to the same cost of, that's right, still equal to the same cost. So the cost of doing those actions, the effort involved, maybe some monetary expense or whatever, that's still the same, but the benefits have changed. And what do we get here? .83? So 10/12. All right, does that tell the story of insurance? What is going on here? Is it likely that people are going to do less, take less actions to protect themselves when they buy an insurance policy? Yeah. So if you're driving without insurance and you're driving a $50,000 car, are you pretty careful when you drive? Yeah. But if you have full coverage, 100%, and it's a sweet little sports car that's got a little stomp on it, you might just give it a little stomp, right? So your behavior changes depending on what's going on. And so this is one of the issues with insurance. So we've talked about this in other classes a little bit, moral hazard and adverse selection. So when you get insurance, you're under an insurance contract and you start changing your behavior, is that moral hazard or adverse selection?
I mean, some companies offer like the safe driver discount. So
Yeah, we'll get into that. So that's again kind of overcoming that. So we're kind of taking little baby steps, but you're absolutely right. So anybody remember moral hazard versus adverse selection? You guys might not have had it as much. I don't cover it as much in some of the other classes. This is moral hazard. So this is moral hazard. So this is something that's the insurance company deals with all the time. And what moral hazard is a change in behavior. A change in behavior post-contract. When you didn't have any insurance, you were really careful with your safety measures at the restaurant. Once you got insurance, you were less careful. Moral hazard. Buffet restaurants run into moral hazard. What goes on? How do you guys behave at the buffet? Do you eat about the same as much that you do when you order from a menu? What do you tend to do? Eat more. Your behavior, your contract was the payment. So you might have paid $10 at either place, but the quantity of food you consumed at the buffet was much more. So restaurants kind of deal with moral hazard that way on the overeating that goes on once we've got people in the door. So if you were thinking about running a restaurant and you're like, oh, should we go with menu? Should we go with buffet? Well, the average person eats a plate of food that weighs this, and you're all careful about the cost of the meat and potatoes, and you've costed out the whole plate, and you're like, that's a normal meal. I think if we did the buffet thing, we'd have some efficiencies involved because we could prepare it ahead of time and we could put it in the steam table and blah, blah, blah. You do all these careful calculations. You open your restaurant and people are eating double the food that you had planned for because of moral hazard, right? So you got to be thinking about your pricing mechanism and the behavior of people. And so that's what moral hazard tackles for us. All right, 15.3. Just about out of time, but I want to get the juices flowing on 15.3. Oh, give me a nice hand. So Pablo is a struggling artist who wants to rent an apartment from Donald. Pablo loves to draw so much that he often draws on any surface he can find, including walls. In fact, Pablo would get $300 in utility from being able to draw his artwork on the walls in the apartment. On the other hand, Donald would like Pablo to leave the apartment walls clean and free of any marks, because he's the landlord, the owner. If Pablo draws his art on the walls, it will cost Donald $500 to have the apartment repainted. Therefore, Donald is considering charging Pablo a damage deposit of $500. Explain why this situation could be considered a principal-agent problem. Who is the principal? Who is the agent? So landlord-tenant, this one's near and dear to my heart. I've had lots of walls painted on that, or written on, puked on, drawn on, you name it, on. Principal agent. So one of the asymmetric information issues is moral hazard. Another one's adverse selection. And the other one is the principal agent problem. In this case of a landlord-tenant, who's the principal, who's the agent? Go ahead. I hear murmuring. Jesse, you gonna take a stab?
Yes.
Okay.
The landlord's principal.
Landlord's principal. All right. So, if you own a small restaurant and you have some employees, who's the principal? Who's the agent? The owner and the employees. Employees are the principal. Who's the driving force? Who's the principal? Who's the agent? Let's go to real estate, since I'm back on the near and dear to my heart. If you go to a company, let's go to the house sale version first. If you want to sell your house and you hire somebody, is that person an agent or a principal for you? They're your agent, right? The real estate agent. So this is where it's easier. So the principal is the person selling the house that owns the house, right? How do they want the agent to behave? In favor of them, right? So in their best interest, right? So we're hiring somebody to work on our behalf. So back to the owner of the restaurant, who's the principal, who's the agent if we're running a small business? Is the employee or the employer? The employee is the principal. Agent. So start thinking back to the real estate example. You own the house. You hire an agent to work on your behalf. You own a restaurant. You hire an employee to do what? Work on your behalf, right? So it sets up this principal agent. When that employee is slacking off and not doing their work because you had to leave and make a store run and they're goofing off with their friends and not doing their work, there's a principal agent problem. So that's the other part of asymmetric information, the principal and the agent. All right, we'll leave that one and pick that up on Monday.